All right, good evening, everyone. This is the official start of the show. We had a little pre-show there. I was trying to get some things together. We had a couple little technical glitches. I think that's ironed out for the most part. I don't know what's going on with Facebook tonight, but we're gonna. It sounds fine on YouTube, and we're recording it, so it seems to be okay. The recording seems to be okay so far. So we're just going to go with what we got. Welcome to Drink with Rick, the Saturday night wine stream. And tonight we are going to open a Frico 2016. This is a Frico Rosso by Scarpetta Wines. And this is basically a combination, and I can read this for you in a minute. Let me get you an image of this. This is what it looks like, the label, Frico by Scarpetta. Now this is a kind of a Sangiovese blend. And what it does is this is a wine, this is actually a Toscana wine from Tuscany, Italy. This is an Italian wine. And it is a Sangiovese blend. There are several grapes in it. So I don't know. I don't recall right offhand what the other grapes are that it's blended with, but it came highly recommended from Wine Store. I did try a little bit. I did try a little bit of this wine, a little tasting, but as I've said in the past, as everyone knows, a tasting doesn't really. It gives you an idea a little bit, but if you're tasting several wines, you've got your palates kind of going with several different wines and sometimes cheeses, things like that. It always tastes great when you're doing a wine tasting, especially free wine tasting, because as I always say, it can't be free. And a free wine tasting, everything tastes good when it's free, right? Pretty much. But it's when you get it home, when you buy that bottle and get it home and you open the bottle and you pour it and you really try it for real and you get down into the bottle that you really can tell what it's really like, what the wine is really like. So this is what I did. I tried it in a wine tasting at Wine Store a couple of weeks ago. I really, really liked it, the tasting. I thought it was pretty good. So I bought a bottle, and I thought, well, this will be a good one to try on the wine stream. So that's what we're going to do. Now this wine is here, let me see. Let me pull that back up for just a moment. There we go. This wine is from Tuscany, Italy, as I said before. It is a classic Tuscan red wine, as they say. It is bottled for Scarpetta Wine, and I think it is imported by USA Wine West LLC in Sausalito. So apparently they bottle it in Italy and then import it over here. That's what it looks like. It is 13% alcohol by volume. So it says. And let me get a shot of the... Let's see if I can find it here. Here we go. Shot of the back. I'm going to read this because it's hard to read. Oh, I didn't switch it over there, did I? Okay, I'm going to read this because it's kind of hard to read, I think, on the screen. Frico wines are inspired by the old world traditions of Italy's most unique wine regions. This culture valued hard work, integrity, and highly appreciated the custom of family gatherings. Good values and unforgettable memories were passed down through generations. To commemorate this way of life, Frico Field blends are meant to be shared, From special occasions to everyday adventures, your own discovery of inspiration awaits. Buon appetito. So that's what it says. It didn't tell me a whole lot. It's just promoting the wine pretty much on the back end. Sometimes these wine labels, these back labels, you know, it'll tell you what the blend is, and it'll tell you a little bit about the wine itself. This was just basically a marketing, looks like just some marketing hype that they just put on the back label. So that didn't really tell me a whole lot. However, fortunately, I have some real information on this wine, and this is a red. This is a red wine, and it is it's supposed to be medium bodied, and the one that I tasted did seem that way. It is it generally goes for anywhere from between $9 to $15 a bottle, and I have found it. It's kind of a wide range there. I found it. The cheapest I found it, or the least expensive I found it, was at Wine Store where I purchased it, which was about $10. It was $9.98, $10, just under 10. And Vivino had it for $12.99. Wine.com for $12.99. I think the most expensive that I saw it online was $15. So it kind of runs in that range. We're going to find out if it's actually a $15 bottle of wine or not. This wine, from reading a little bit, probably requires a little bit of aeration in order for it to be really enjoyed. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to aerate this wine tonight. And the way I'm going to do it is sometime back I ordered it because I needed a decent wine aerator for the wine stream. And I picked up from Amazon this set from Veneto. Now, I'm not endorsing it, I'm not recommending it, I'm trying it out. We're going to review this as well. This is called the Wine Lover Set. It's a combination with a wine aerator, wine chiller, wine pourer, wine opener, and a wine stopper. I'm not going to try all the pieces in this thing tonight, but we will try the aerator, and it looks like it's in a two-piece. I've already pulled the aerator out. It kind of looks like this. It's in two pieces. And let me see if I can get a closer shot of this. It's in two pieces, and it's goes together like this. It didn't come with any instructions, so I sort of had to guess at it. But fortunately, having had a lot of wine in my day, I sort of figured it out. It has some other pieces to it, too. This is... if I can get it out. It doesn't look like it wants to come out. And I want to... There we go. This is interesting. This is a chiller where you stick it in the freezer for a while, and then it chills. It really gets cold. It has, I think, a liquid of some sort in there to chill it down. And then you put this, as I figured it out on my own, or had to figure it out on my own. And if I can get this out of here, I'll put the other piece on here. There we go. Oh no, this is the stopper. Excuse me. This is the wine stopper, which is interesting. Where's the other piece? Here it is. This is a pour, and an aerator and a chiller, and it goes on like this. And then you put this down into the bottle after it's chilled. You put it down in the bottle, stopping at the bottle really good, and it has an aerator built into it, and the wine goes in, and then it pours right out. We're not going to try this one tonight either because I have not chilled it. The set also comes with a corkscrew, kind of a standard corkscrew. And to be honest, I think it's a little on the cheap side. I've gone through so many of these corkscrews, these types of corkscrews. I've broken several. They just wear out. Yeah, I drink a lot of wine, I guess. And then there's a opener here. Like this. So that's the set, and we're going to try various pieces of the set out at various times. But tonight we're only going to use the aerator. And of course, normally I would use my handy corkscrew opener, but we don't need it tonight. We don't need it tonight because this particular bottle has a screw cap. Let's go figure. So we won't need any of this stuff. We don't need any of this junk tonight. We'll just open it up with that. Also tonight I have a nice set to clear the palate and to see what goes well with this wine. I've got a nice plate that my beautiful wife Chi has made, put together for me. It has a couple of cheeses in here. It has it looks like a beef summer sausage, some crackers, and some green stuffed olives stuffed with garlic, which is actually a personal favorite of mine. These are called Gaia olives. Actual Greek olives, and I picked those up from the fresh market, the local fresh market. Let's see who's in the chat with us tonight. Rob's here in the chat with us. Charles has joined us in the chat. Good evening, Rob. Hi, Charles. Phil has joined us in the chat. Hi, Phil. It's great to see you. Hope you're doing well. Hope everything's going well with you. And actually, Charles and Phil and I used to work together years and years ago, and they're old friends of mine. And my lovely wife Chi has joined us in the chat as well. I hope you join us as well as you step in, and don't be afraid to say something. Tell me what you're drinking. Tell me what how you're doing. I want to hear from everyone. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and open up this bottle of Frico wine, and with the screw cap, and then we're going to try this aerator. I'm going to drop this in. This is the first time I'm trying this, so who knows. It does seem kind of, well, goes in there pretty well. I guess it'll stay in there. Now, if you don't have an aerator, a couple of things you can do to help the wine aerate. One thing you can do is, I mean, it's not perfect, but it works. One thing that you can do is you can open the bottle up and leave it open for a little while, let it sit and give it a chance to aerate a little bit. Another thing that you can do is to, and this is a tip that I was at a house concert from put on by our neighbors, Mark and Kathy, a couple of weeks ago, and I met a nice lady named Charlotte. Charlotte from Charlotte. She calls herself Charlotte from Charlotte, and she gave me a nice tip about aerating wine without an aerator, which is a simple tip and something I should have known, but it's not something, and it's something I thought about once a long time ago, but it's not anything that I really did. But she said, you don't have to buy an aerator. You can use a couple of glasses, just 2 glasses. Pour the wine in one glass, pour it in another, pour it back and forth a couple of times. That should aerate the wine out. And I'm thinking, well, that's a pretty simple way to do it. It is. You dirty 2 glasses, but if you have 2 people, if you're sharing the wine with 2 or more people, you just grab a couple glasses, pour the wine in like this, and then maybe half the wine, half it in one glass or another glass, and then by the time you get to the second pour, the bottle's been open long enough probably to get a little aeration. I don't know. But anyway, we're going to try this aerator. We're going to try pouring it, and I'm going to give it a little close-up here so we can see. And by the way, I'm pouring it in my Cooper's Hawk genuine crystal wine glass from Cooper's Hawk Winery and Restaurant. So we're going to try this out, give it a good pour, light pour, and let's see how it works. And hopefully this won't spill all over the keyboard. Well, let's see, we're going, wow, look at that. Oh, pretty wild. Okay, it's we've poured a little bit in the glass, and we're pouring just a little bit in here so we can check it out. Check out the aroma. Okay. This is the wine it does look pretty medium bodied. Looks a little heavier. Getting a good swirl right now. We're going to see what it does. Okay. And let's see if it has legs. See if we've got some tears here. It takes a few seconds for it to show up. You can't really, I don't think you can see it too well on on camera. But it's got a few legs. It's not real. It's not real intense. Okay. And it has a nice, I don't really want to say it has a nice bouquet because you can't say that it's really aged. Well, it's 2016. Has a fairly nice aroma to it. Kind of flowery. And I think that aerator probably works pretty good. Probably helps this wine give it a little taste. Okay, it's interesting. I do taste some cherry in it, and I love cherry. It's one of my favorite flavors. It is dry. Oh wow, it has a nice finish. It actually has a pretty nice finish. So maybe the aeration, maybe I should have tried it before aerating it and see if there was any real difference there. One of these days I've got to try that. Try opening a bottle, try it before aeration, and then try put the aerator on it and try it again, and then see what happens, see what the difference is. But tonight I think I just want to drink this. It is very dry. It does have some tannins to it. I would say it's not real heavy on the tannins, but they're there. This one tastes pretty fruity. To be honest, I think it tastes fairly fruity, not real oaky. So I think it's all right. I like it. But I do like the finish. It does have a very nice finish to it. I wouldn't say it's a perfect wine, but I'll have to say I really do like the finish. I like the aftertaste to it. So we're going to pour a little bit more, and you know what? Maybe the aerator really does make all the difference. So we're going to pour some more. In fact, I'm going to get a closer shot of this because, well, no, I can't. That is the closest shot here. Here we go. Okay, we're going to pour a substantial amount in here so we can enjoy this wine. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it over here for the time being. Let's move this wine lover set down somewhere for the time being. There we go. Gone but not forgotten for the moment. So I make some space over here. Because we're going to try this with a few items to eat with and see what it really goes well with. Now, I have heard supposedly that this goes pretty well with pasta. Now, I don't know. Now, being an Italian wine, I would say that probably the type of pasta it would go with best would be one with some tomato in it, maybe some anything that has like spaghetti or or a good ziti or something like that, or lasagna. Would probably go good with a lasagna. I'd have it with lasagna. It is really kind of it's kind of tastes it tastes really fruity. But I do like this finish. I can taste the floral notes in it. I can taste the cherry. Um, the cherries taste pretty strong for me. It's supposed to have some hints of tobacco in it. I don't really sense that. Not really, but it does. It is pretty medium body, and definitely some tannins in it. It's I would say it's. I expect it to be more acidic. A little bit, a little bit. It's kind of hard to tell right now. I probably need something to go with it, and maybe should have a cracker. These are regular Ritz crackers, by the way, and yeah, um, I do like this wine, and I'm not just saying that because I like wine. I do like wine, but I think this is a pretty good wine. It's a lot. It beats what we opened up a couple of weeks ago. That Grana Paso. Whew. Okay, it wasn't too that bad, but it was not great. I was really rather disappointed in that wine. And you can go back and watch that replay of that wine stream at your leisure. It was not my favorite wine, but this definitely I think is pretty good. It's pretty good, and I'm going to have a little more of this. Now I'm pouring with my left hand because when it comes to wine, I can use either hand. Um, I can see myself going through a good portion of this bottle rather quickly. So, we've got the wine, we've got the treats here, and another thing I have here is a bottle of water. I have a regular bottle of water here. Now, one thing, if you've ever had it, and if you ever get headaches from wine, and people like to blame the headaches on the heavy tannins in the wine. I thought that was the case too, but I've had headaches from wine, even without wine that didn't have heavy tannins in it. So I didn't really think there was a whole lot to that argument, just because they said, well, don't drink the wine with a lot of tannins in it because that'll give you headaches. And maybe for some people maybe it does. I don't know. For me, I would seem to get them on some wines and not others, and it really didn't have anything to do with whether or not there were tannins in it or not. So I kind of threw that thing out the window. But then I was told, I'd heard that what can keep you from getting headaches is to drink plenty of water. Usually the headaches, from what I understand, are often caused by a little dehydration, not having enough water in your body, in your system, when you're drinking the wine. And if you have the trick is, if you have a glass of water, and I'm not sure exactly what constitutes a glass of water, if it's like a 6 to 8 ounces, I suppose. But if you have a glass of water in between a glass of wine, it supposedly it prevents any headaches from occurring if you're prone to wine headaches. So that's good to know. So I have a bottle of water, and I drink a lot of water anyway. But I might have a little water here to help clear my palate in between glasses of wine. I just have to get the reminder before I pour the next glass to have a little water. So if you see me drinking water and you're saying, what in the world is he doing? He's supposed to be drinking wine and not water. That's what I'm doing. I'm clearing my palate out and trying that approach to one glass of wine, one glass of water, glass of wine, glass of water, instead of just drinking all wine. And then I'll see if it really does prevent the headaches. Supposedly, from what I've heard, it works. We'll find out. I guess we'll find out. It probably wouldn't hurt. I don't know if anyone else has heard that. Anyone else in the chat has heard of that before. I've kind of heard that sort of thing in the past. Have a little bit of water with it, make sure you stay hydrated. But I drink a lot of water anyway, so usually. So it hasn't really been a real issue for me. I think if I've had too much wine, then overall, then I can get a headache from that. And there are certain wines that I can get a headache from anyway. There's certain white wines that can give me headaches. And especially if they're sweet wines, that's one reason why I don't like sweet wines too much. First of all, they're kind of, to me, really, really sickeningly sweet wines are kind of icky. But they do tend to, the sweet ones do tend to give me some headaches, whether I've had water or not. So that's just me. I think everyone's a little bit different, but we'll try the water approach and see. I don't think this is going to give me a problem unless I drink the whole bottle, which is what I'm sure a lot of people that tune into the chat want to actually see me do. I'm going to try not to do that, but I tell you what, I have to admit, this wine is really good. So it might be difficult for me to stop. So on this. Moderation, that's the key to all things, right? Moderation is key. Do it all in moderation. Too much of a good thing is not good, as they say. So I think this wine is, I think 2016, I think this is about the right time to open this bottle. I wouldn't say it's a perfect bottle of wine, but I'd say it's probably perfect or near perfect for this bottle for the time to open it. It's probably the best time for this wine. Borrowing from the old Paul Masson, if you remember the old Paul Masson commercials, we will sell no wine before it's time. Made famous, made famous in the 80s. And let's see, what else have I got here? I think that was pretty much it. I'm not really doing this as a planned. None of this is. I had a couple of notes here for some things I wanted to mention, and now I can't find them. I'm not much for this is supposed to be this wine stream is also supposed to be a stream of consciousness type of thing. So I don't generally take notes, but sometimes during the week I'll come up with something and say, I'd kind of like to mention that on the wine stream. So that's something that I'll take a few notes on, and just to talk about it. But it's still a stream of consciousness sort of thing. Here we go. I think. I already covered how to avoid wine headaches, so I did. So that's good. So that takes care of my notes. Because I think that was all I had. I had the wine stream, and I had, the wine headaches, and I had the how to aerate wine with 2 glasses. I think that was it. Because I promised Charlotte that I would mention, Charlotte from Charlotte, I promised to her that I would mention that tip on the show. I forgot to do it last week, so I said I've got to write this down because I'm going to forget to mention it this week. So Charlotte, from Charlotte. If you're watching the stream now, or you're watching it later, or listening to the podcast later, I did pass along your tip. It took me a week or so to remember it, but I did it. There you go. Anyway, so where was I? Well, there were a couple of other things, I think, that I wanted to go over with wine. Just a couple other things that I discovered about wine, and right offhand, I can't remember what they were. So I guess we'll just go ahead and keep drinking, and maybe I'll remember it later on. Oh, this is good wine. All right, so I'm going to refill this glass. I'm going to have a little bit of this water here. Just to keep myself hydrated. And if you joined us last week we had opened up, what did we open up? It was the 1448, which was a nice wine also. I really like that wine. So we got two, we had one that was not so great, and then we've had two in a row that are actually pretty good so far. So that's good. And it was my sister's birthday, my sister Gina's birthday, and we had a nice little birthday celebration for her. I had sent her a couple of bottles of wine. She did receive it on Tuesday. Monday was Memorial Day. And what I had sent her was a bottle of the Le Mistral that we had opened it up a few weeks earlier, and a bottle of the, where is it? It's on the other side. It was a bottle of the Baron d'Alais Varietales, which we also reviewed, I think, in a much earlier wine stream, and I enjoyed both of them. So, have I been on the camera the whole time? Anyway, so we sent those to her. She received them in great condition, and she's going to open them up, and hopefully she'll report back and tell us what she thinks of those two wines. She is much more of a wine connoisseur than I am. I'm the kind of person, I'm a guy who, I drink wine. I know what I like. I know what I don't like. I know what's meh to me. And that's that. I am not a sommelier. I am not an expert. I'm not a trained expert on wine. So if you want to get in the chat and troll me for that, it's not going to work, because I'm admitting it, openly admitting it. I am not a wine expert. I did not go to school to learn how to taste wines. I'm not a wine snob to speak of. I'm just a regular person who enjoys wine. And I know what I like, I know what I don't like, I know what tastes good to me, I know what doesn't taste good to me. And I know a few things about a good pairing, how to pair this wine with that food, that sort of thing. Things that I've learned on my own over the years, and some things that some of my friends and relatives who have, in their own experience and wisdom, have taught me about what pairs good with a wine or not. But other than that, no, I didn't go to a wine school or culinary school or anything like that, a sommelier class or anything like that to learn that. It's just kind of trial and error, and there's certain wines that I don't pair with certain foods just because, for one thing, I've tried it before and it didn't work out too well, so I avoid those wines with those foods. And I know it works based on my own experience with wines, and that's good enough for me. I don't have to be. I feel that I learn new things about wine every day, and we should always keep learning, never stop learning. And I'm always learning new things. I've learned a lot of things about wine this weekend, searching around, but I don't think that. I mean, is it really that important to have the perfect wine with the perfect food? Well, maybe some people. For me, I think it's more important to have a good wine with a good food and just enjoy it that way. And if this wine works with this, say for instance, this summer sausage or that pasta, that's good enough for me. I'll drink it. That beef sausage is not bad. A little chewier than this wine actually, because this wine isn't really that chewy. It's got the tannins in it, but it's not. I wouldn't call it a chewy wine. At least not to me. Somewhat acidic, not too bad. It's okay. It goes okay with the sausage to me. I'm okay. I mean, it's now one thing I will try it with is this olive, this Gaia olive. I have this olive, and it's stuffed with garlic. See if we can get a closer shot of this. This is stuffed with garlic. You can see it. I love these things, and I'll open up a jar of them, and I can go through half a jar of these olives in one sitting. I mean, literally, it's hard for me to stop eating these olives in a sitting, and I have had it with some wines before. See how it works with this wine. The thing is, these olives, that's not, they aren't stored or soaked in vinegar. They're soaked in more of a brine, salt. So they're a little bit salty. I'll have to say that pairing a wine with some salty things, this kind of wine, I don't know if you'd want to pair this wine with something that's too salty. It's not bad. It's all right. But I think I'll stick to the sausage, and maybe I'll try the cheese. I'll try a little bit of this cheese. I think I have some cheddar here. I think it's a medium. No, this is a sharp cheddar. No, this is a medium cheddar. Excuse me. If I get it down. It's okay with cheddar. It's okay with cheddar. In other words, I'm not going to quibble over picking a few foods with the wine for the most part, as long as it's, I mean, there's some that will say, oh, you never pair this wine with this food. Like, for instance, now I wouldn't, there's some things I wouldn't drink this wine with. I probably wouldn't drink it with like Mexican food or something really, really spicy like Indian food or something like that, because it's just going to be too, when you have the tannins like that and you have the spicy food, I think the tannins tend to kind of magnify that somewhat, and I think it's going to be overwhelming. But I mean, so I wouldn't do this with Mexican food. I don't think. I think I'd do something like I don't know. I don't drink too many white wines anyway. So usually when I have Mexican food, I'm not drinking wine anyway. I'm drinking water, and a lot of it. So I usually don't drink wine with Mexican food, to be honest. And I don't think I've ever had wine with Indian food. I've never had. I never really thought it was a good idea to drink a wine with say, or with Thai food or something like that. It just didn't seem like it was a good fit overall anyway. So I mean, if that's what you like. Like, for instance, if I'm going to a Japanese restaurant, I would probably drink sake and not a grape wine. I would drink sake with the Japanese food, because that seems to pair well with that, and I've never gone wrong there. So that's been great. But I wouldn't really drink a red or a white wine with, per se. That's grape wine with Japanese food. There are probably a couple of white wines that go okay with it. But I would say, if I'm going to go, and I like sake. So if I'm going to go to a Japanese restaurant, I'm probably going to have sake with my meal. And it seems to, it's a cultural thing anyway. You kind of blend in you kind of pair it with the kind of food for that culture, and it seems to match up pretty well anyway. So why not stick with that and not experiment? I mean, you can experiment if you want to, but don't say I didn't warn you. I would say stick with what works between the two. Anyway, this is a wine that I would recommend. Definitely would recommend this wine. It's not bad at all. And the price, as I said, the price is not bad. I paid $10 for mine at Wine Store. I shopped the Wine Store in Blakeney here locally in Charlotte, and they have 4 or 5 different locations around the Charlotte area. But the thing is, at the Wine Store will, if you go to what's the address here? It's Wine Store. winestore-online.com. They do ship wine, so you can order, and they have pretty good prices. They have really good prices on their wines. They have a really nice selection. You can order from them online, and I think there are some ship that they can ship to. There are some states, mixing my words up. I guess the wine is starting to kick in. A little early for that. There are some states that they can't ship to. There are some they can, and there's some that they can't because of the interstate laws with wine. And then the funny thing is, the interstate laws of interstate shipping of wine. A lot of these government laws and regulations are so archaic and so out of touch with modern times. And I think some of these states have sort of caught on to that. So it used to be, I think there were only about 14 or 15, about a handful of states that you could ship wines to from out of state. And it looks like in the last couple of years that list has grown a bit. It looks like, I know they have it's a heavily regulated industry anyway. But it looks like that list has grown a little bit. So the last I checked, I think there were 44 states, 44 states that allowed, with some restrictions, allowed some interstate and out-of-state shipping of wines from one state to another. That I think that some of them have some restrictions on it on how you can do that. I think some of them even have it so that if it's direct from a winery, the winery can ship to most of those states. But if it's a retailer, the retailer can't necessarily ship to some of those states. So it's a little convoluted, a little complicated, a little convoluted. You can, if you're interested, you can look it up. You can Google it up and check. But it has, I think more states have sort of caught on to it over the last couple of years. So it looks like it's getting a little bit better. I know that a few years ago, when I was trying to have some wine shipped, that it was there were just more states that they couldn't ship to, and it seems like that's gotten a little better. I don't know, at least to me. Now I'm in a state in North Carolina where some of that is allowed, so I'm fortunate. I'm in that area where I can order some wines out of state and have them shipped to my state. But I think that's probably a fairly recent thing. I think Pennsylvania was one that didn't allow any shipping of wine from out of state until just very, very recently. If I recall correctly, I think it was just a pretty recent thing the last year or so that they just started allowing that. So they're getting on board. So there's still some states that don't allow it. some that do. But if you are in a state, you have to check. But if you are in a state that allows out-of-state shipping of the wines, check out the wine store. Now, I am not. This is not paid endorsement. Okay, they're not paying me to say this. What it is that it's a personal. I enjoy shopping there in the wine store, so it's a personal thing. So I'm endorsing them. It's a personal endorsement only at this time. So I do recommend them, though. I do recommend them. I have had other people recommend companies like what's the other one? NakedWines.com, Naked Wines, which is really kind of a they're kind of like an angel investment sort of project where you join them and then you pay $40 a month, and what you're doing is you're investing in these small wineries, a consortium of small wineries that get together, and they use your money for investing in their wineries. And it's a pretty good idea and concept if you have the $40 a month to spend. And I think they sent you some wine for that too. I have heard mixed things about it. And yes, they're the ones that send out, if you go order something online or something, you'll get a certificate, a coupon for $100 off, wine if you go set up an account there. I have not done it yet. I started to set up an account with them some time back. I kind of backed out because I was looking at that I was kind of reading some of the reviews, and at the time I think there were some people that were having trouble with not really realizing that they were subscribing to this on a regular basis, and it was a $40 a month investment thing, and they were kind of not happy about seeing the $40 a month taken out of their credit card every month, and so there have been a number of complaints about that. Like I said, if you go to their website, they pretty much explain what they're doing. So I don't think it's a scam. It seems pretty much on the level to me, but I just haven't jumped into that just yet because it is a bit of an investment. I already drop a lot of money into wines and things like that already, and another $40 a month. I don't know. It's just not my budget right now. Maybe down the road I'll test it out. But one of these days, maybe when things get going on the wine stream, things get really going on it, then maybe I'll say, you know what, let me try the $40 a month, and I'll try it out, and then I'll review it. I'll review it right here on the wine stream. We'll order in a case of wine. We'll try a couple of the wines out, and I'll sort of test out the whole club system and see how that works, and see if it's any good. We'll try that at some point, but right now it's just not. I've got too many other things I've got to take care of here first before I start investing in, $40 a month wine clubs. So I'm just not at that point yet. As it is, I kind of like to I like to go to, say, some place like Wine Store or Total Wine or something like that, and or even Trader Joe's sometimes, and pick and choose the wines I want. And if there's a $20 bottle of wine that's been recommended to me and I want to try it out, and it looks like it's worth it, I'll spring the $20 and I'll pay $20 for it. Generally though, it's going to be $6 to $8 dollars a bottle of wine for me that I know, that I drink regularly, and that I know what they are, and I know what they're like, and I can trust them that they're going to be pretty much consistently a good wine and worth the money, and that's kind of a safe zone. I guess maybe I play it too safe sometimes. This bottle of Frico, I'll have to say that yes, I did taste it slightly, and I'll have to admit, as it going down this bottle, it's actually every bit as good and maybe a little bit better than the tasting I had. And that's why I do this. That's why I get the bottle here and try the bottle, because, as I said before, tasting isn't really, it's not, well, we've already been through that. Tasting just gives you a little, it's not a true test of a whole bottle of wine. You got to go through the bottle. But I've been halfway down this bottle, just about, almost halfway down this bottle, as you can see. And so far, so good. And I mean, so good. Yeah, I do like this wine. Now, having said that, it may not be a wine for you. If you don't like a wine that's a little heavier on the tannins, if you don't like a wine that is that's a little acidic, if you don't like a wine that's kind of fruity, this may not be the wine for you. It's not a real heavy wine. It's medium bodied. I would say it's a fairly easy wine to drink. It's not really heavy. It's not a heavy wine, but it is. If you go for the lighter wines, then maybe this won't be the wine that that's for you. But I would say that if you like a good fruity wine, if you like cherry, if you like I don't know, if you like flowery notes, if you like a wine that has a fair amount of medium on the tannins, I think, then I think you'd enjoy this. I think you'd enjoy this wine. I know I'm enjoying it. I'm having a good time with it. Oh, some other things I wanted to go over the wine stream tonight. We launched the podcast last week. Finally got around to launching the Drink with Rick podcast. So you can hear the audio only version. If you want to hear an audio only version, you don't want to sit around and watch me and watch my fat face in this wine stream for an hour and a half. You can listen at your leisure and on demand at drinkwithrick.com. You can go to www.drinkwithrick.com, and there's the web address. I've been working on the website for a couple of weeks. It still has some work to be done on it, but it's getting up there. And as a matter of fact, you can watch this stream. I think it's going on right now. You can watch the live stream going on right now at drinkwithrick.com. So you can see it from there. I don't have a chat up there for it per se, so you wouldn't be able to chat with me here. You can chat on Facebook. You can chat on YouTube, because I'm on excuse me, the wine. We're multi-streaming on both platforms right now. And we are also streaming to the website at drinkwithrick.com. You can also, if you have any comments on it, you can comment on it, and at rick@savoyamedia.com. That would be the address to send your comments. I welcome your comments. I welcome your feedback in the stream and through email. Let me know what you think, where I can improve, what I can do. Now, once again, I'm not going to script this. Now, for some people to say this needs to, you're just rattling on and this completely unscripted, and I can't deal with this. This is an experiment in podcasting and live streaming, in the sense that I have in the past. That's what I've done. I've scripted everything. I've had, if there weren't scripts, there were show notes, heavy show notes and things like that I followed a particular agenda on. And this was something I wanted to try that I've never tried before, and that is just completely just turn on, start recording, everything off the cuff, complete stream of consciousness sort of thing, and just to have some fun with. This is just something I'm having some fun with. So that format's not changing for now, because I'm having too much fun doing this. Just the stream of consciousness, the whole, what's coming out of his mouth next kind of thing. It's a challenge. My mind is going all the time anyway. Mine is always racing here, racing there, and I'm always thinking about something. And it's funny because I come up with a lot of ideas and I want to sit down and say, hey, on the wine stream this weekend, I want to talk about this, and I want to talk about this and this and this. And then when I sit down here, my mind just kind of blanks out, and then it's just pour wine and just whatever, just whatever comes in, pops into my head next, pretty much. It's like the it's like the whole Paul Masson thing. I'm thinking, I could throw that in somewhere, and then when it came down to it, I just it's just something spur of the moment that I threw out there. A lot of that stuff is just something that I'm doing just to see what comes out of my mouth next. Anyway, losing my train of thought a little bit because I think the wine is starting to kick in just a little, and maybe it means that I need a little more water because it's probably just a good idea. So there you go. So we have several people in the chat. I don't know. I haven't. Sometimes the chat's lively. Sometimes nothing's going on at all, and everybody's just sit back and watching or listening. But if you're in the chat, tell me how you're doing. Tell me what's going on. Tell me what you're drinking or what you're not drinking. Tell me what you'd like to drink, and give me suggestions for wines to try. And I'd be happy to do that. We've done that in the past. We've had people in the chat before saying, hey, Rick, why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? I actually had a suggestion from Charlotte, as a matter of fact. I had a suggestion from here, and I wrote it down somewhere. And I don't even remember what it was. It was a really nice idea for a wine. I don't have it written down here for some reason. So I don't remember what it was. I do have it on my phone. It's on my phone, but I'll just have to look it up later and see if I can find it for the next wine stream. Because really, I have a few wines down here that we can open up and try. But I think I'd like to try something new. I always like to try something new. So I'll see if I can find what Charlotte from Charlotte was suggesting to me, and maybe I'll see if I can pick up a bottle of that and we can try it on the next wine stream. I will say that at $10 a bottle, this Frico wine is pretty good. Once again, it is a Frico by Scarpetta. It's a Rosso. It's a 2016 Rosso, and it's from Tuscany. And at $10 a bottle, I think this is a pretty good buy, in my opinion. I would say that for $10, and I've done that before. I've spent $10 or more on a bottle of wine that I opened up and I thought was not really that impressive, and then I think to myself, well, that's a Hamilton I'll never see again. But this is one that I think was definitely worth it. So I'm probably going to buy another bottle of this. I'll definitely buy another bottle of this, and just to keep one around. I like it. In fact, I'm going to have some more. And you know what? It seems to be getting better as I go down the bottle. Now, I don't know if that has anything to do with maybe the sediments, or if there are any sediments down there. I don't know if that has anything to do with the the sediments that maybe add a little bit more to the wine that's down in the bottom of the bottle, or if it has something to do more maybe with the the fact that I've already had a fair amount of it, and things just seem to taste and look better after you've had some wine. And tell me I'm wrong about that. Things do seem to sound and look better after you've had a fair amount of wine. Anyway, there were a couple other wines here that I had wanted to try, and there was one that I was going to show you this one. This was this Brick Mason wine. Let me see if I can pull that up. There's a Brick Mason wine that, and I can't see this. There we go. This is the wine sitting down there, by the way, and down in the lower shelf. I had picked this up in Blowing Rock about when was it? It's almost been a month now. Yeah, it's been a month that I picked this wine up, and I keep meaning to say I'm going to open this wine up and try it out. I keep putting it back because I keep finding wines that I'd prefer to try. Because to be honest, I have not tried this wine before. I've never tasted it before. I can't vouch for it. I don't know that I'd be taking a chance on it. And I think this was 16. I want to say that I spent $16 on this wine. Let me get a shot of the back of this wine. I spent $16 on this wine. And I'm almost afraid to try it because I spent another $18, $19, something like that, on this other bottle of wine, that Grana Paso that I had, that I had also purchased from the same place, and it didn't turn out very well. So I'm a little hesitant to open this one. Now, I know that's not fair. That's not a fair thing to say. I mean, they're two completely different wines. This one was from who knows where. It was, let me see if I can pull this bottle. Where was this from again? It was, it wasn't from here. Okay. From Italy. It was an Italian wine, but it was not that great. This Brick Mason wine is, I believe, is a Napa Valley wine. So, unless, I mean, it's kind of hard to go wrong with some of those, right? Not necessarily. There are wines that from Napa Valley that are not my favorite either. So, who knows? So we're taking a chance on that. Maybe I should open that one next week. We'll see. So anyway, I'm I lost my. Where's the other note here I had on this? Oh well. Anyway, so this maybe that's what we'll do. Maybe we'll just go ahead and open the Brick Mason next week, unless I go to the wine store at the wine store up here and find something better. I know they're going to be they do a tasting every Thursday night there. They also do Saturday tastings as well, although I generally can't make those. But I do the Thursday night tastings whenever I can. And I have gone so many times and found one or two bottles that I really liked, and I thought, well, this is what I'm going to try. So I'm going to be doing that this coming Thursday night. If I bring something back, then we'll try that. If I don't, then I'll either be looking for what Charlotte from Charlotte suggested, or I'll open up that Brick Mason, just because we have to do it at some point. I also have a glass. I know I love this Cooper's Hawk wine glass, but I have a set of glasses that that the owners of the company that I work for gave to me as a gift over the holiday season last year, and I have been keeping them on a shelf in a nice place because they're such nice. They're Irish crystal glasses, and they gave me a carafe also made of Irish crystal, which just a fabulous gift. And I have been saving them for a special occasion because I like, well, this is really, really nice. So I wanted to save it for a special occasion. And I'm thinking, well, I'm making some more upgrades to the studio here. We're going to be adding a new desk and doing a couple of other things here in the next few weeks. I was thinking maybe to kind of christen the new studio setup, then maybe I should break out those glasses and try one of those because they're really, really nice wine glasses. I'll do that with a nice wine as well. So I'm saving them for that as a special occasion. I have, what was it? Some more of the cheese. You know, I like to try another olive with this. I love those olives. I really do. And they're very garlicky because they have this one is really more pronounced. No, that one doesn't have one in it. Well, it does. They have garlic inside. And I could go through, as I said before, I could go through half a jar. I have on occasion even, and I hate to admit it, but I have on occasion actually gone through an entire jar of them before. Now, the jar is not real big. The jar is I'd say about, I don't know, 12-ounce jar. It's about half the size of this bottle of water. So it's not real big. And it's pretty much stuffed with those olives. But they are so easy for me to eat, and I'll go through them. But then they're full of garlic. So I've had wine, and I've had these garlic stuffed olives, and then I go upstairs, and my daughter says, "Your breath stinks." So I'm like, hadn't noticed because of all the garlicky olives in the wine mixture. So it's not too great for anyone else. So fortunately for you folks out there, fortunately we're not recording this in Smellorama, Odorama, Smell-O-Vision. So you don't have to suffer like the rest of my family does when I eat these things. But maybe I should eat them every week then. This is good with the sausage as well, the summer sausage. I think this goes good with meats as well as pasta. In fact, I do want to do some grilling tomorrow. I'd say this would probably be okay for doing that. No, I think this is probably best with pasta, really. You could make a decent after dinner wine. This could be an okay after dinner wine. I'd say for something with maybe a smoked meat or something, maybe. It would probably be okay with. The other wine that they have a Chianti downstairs that that could also open up next week that my wife bought, and maybe I should try that. Maybe I should open that up and try it. I will say that I'm not going to be drinking those. The Oak Creek and the Charles Shaw or the Sutter Home. That's not on my list. None of those are on the. And for those who are asking, why does he keep those down there? I keep those down there as a reminder of wines not to drink. And I have had all three of those. Well, okay, that one's empty, so you know I had that one. But these two are full. I'm not planning on opening them anytime soon. However, I did think about maybe in a future wine stream, maybe we should, just for fun, maybe we should just open one of them up and just for fun and just compare it. Maybe do a comparison. Like we could do a $2 chuck, compare it, and we can open up a $2 chuck and maybe a Frico wine. A $2 chuck and a Frico wine, and compare the two and just see. Oh boy, that could make me sick. Maybe that's not such a good idea, but it could be fun for you guys to watch, for all of you to watch. Maybe the Oak Creek, I don't want to open one of those things up ever again. Those were just, that was kind of nasty. I'm sorry, but I tried one of those, like $2.97. I've tried one of those before, and that's just kind of nasty wine. And in my opinion, that's just in my opinion. Okay, some people might like that, and that's okay for them. That I got that bottle. My wife purchased it for me just to show, just as a showpiece. I don't plan to open it anytime soon. I could also, I was thinking it could be fun to get maybe a Mogan David. Get a Mogan David and put that on the shelf. Not to open, not to drink. I'm not crazy. I mean, I'm not that crazy. I'm crazy enough to be doing this, making a fool of myself on a wine stream live in front of all my family and friends and everyone else out there. But it would be fun just to have one, on the shelf, just for laughs. And if you like Mogan David wines, and some people do, some people that's what they drink, Mogan David, if that's what you like, and some of those those really syrupy wines, if that's what you like, who am I to judge? I'll just say, who am I to judge? That's your thing. That's your thing. Go for it. But that's not my wine. It's not my cup of tea. It's definitely not my wine. So that I guess that just leaves more for you. That's more Mogan David for you. What else do we have here? Well, we're getting on towards, we're getting close to the 1 o'clock hour. I know I started a little bit late because we had a little pre-show going on there, and I had a couple of little glitches there. Something going on. Now, things seem to be running okay right now on Facebook, on the Facebook stream. It looks like we're up to speed on the Facebook stream, so that's good. You guys should be seeing everything and hearing everything okay. But when we first started off, for some reason, when we first started the stream tonight, it was the audio and the video. The audio was pretty choppy, and the video was only going about half the frame rate. It's only going about 14, 15 frames per second on that stream. So I don't know what was happening there. Everything was okay on YouTube, and it still looks okay on YouTube. We're fine there. Once again, this experiment in live streaming is ongoing. I'm continuing to work on the website, and in fact, I'll pull this up again. If you want to go to visit the website, it's drinkwithrick.com, and you can reach me at rick@savoyamedia.com if you have any comments or questions, or hey, if you're interested in helping to support the wine stream, if you're interested in maybe sponsoring. Hey, I'll take sponsors now. I'll take sponsors. If there's a good winery or even a rich wino out there who'd be interested in sponsoring Drink with Rick, sure, I'll talk to you. That could be fun. And just let me know. Rick@savoyamedia.com. It's SAVOIAMEDIA.com. And see, I'm not too drunk to be able to spell my own name. Anyway, I think we're a little bit over half the bottle. I think I'm probably going to stop there I don't want to overdo it. Once again, I drink in moderation. That's an important thing, folks. The wine stream isn't about, I know it's called Drink with Rick, but it's not about just drinking and drinking, and that's all. You know, as a matter of fact, I was over at Reddit, and there is a group on Reddit that's just called Drunk. And I considered the possibility of embedding the wine stream over there. You got to be careful on Reddit. You know, people don't like that too much if you just sit there and drop streams and do self-promotion and things like that over there. So I try not to do that. I'm not into spamming groups. But I saw that one, and it was called Drunk, and it seemed like that's what everybody was doing, and that seemed, apparently that's what you do there in that one is you post streams and pictures and videos and everything of people getting drunk. And I thought, well, okay, that's a little bit too lowbrow for me. That's not what this is about at all. This is not about getting drunk, okay? In fact, if anything, it's the opposite of that. My philosophy here, and just to restate it, my philosophy here, drinkwithrick.com, is not about just drinking. What this is about opening a bottle of nice wine with some class in a glass and tasting it and testing it and talking about the wine and talking about wine in general and then talking about things in general. Bringing people together. There's been too much, I've said this before, several streams in the past. I've been on Facebook. I'm an early adopter in a lot of these things, and I've been on Facebook almost since it started, as I have on a lot of different platforms. And it's not until the last couple of years that I've seen so much vitriolic discussion, so much Discord. And yeah, I'm not talking about Discord, the platform. There's a platform called Discord. But I'm talking about Discord as far as people just not talking with each other anymore. Facebook, in my opinion, Facebook was supposed to be, everybody get together and meet and connect with family and friends and things like that. I don't think it was intended as a place for people to get up there and cause discord with family and friends. And it seems like that I've seen so much of that in the last 2 years, too much. And that's why we don't talk about politics. We don't talk about religion on this show, on this stream here. I've seen too much of it, particularly the politics. It's just the way I think that people who were friends, and I've seen some friends unfriend each other, and I've seen families break up and things like that over politics and religion too, to a degree, but a lot of it's been mostly politics. And it's just been such a toxic atmosphere. And look, I'm just as human as everyone else. I have my opinions. I have my positions on things, on both politics and religion. But this is not the venue for me. I'm not here to discuss them. I'm not here to this is not my platform or my soapbox to get up and talk about what I believe in or what I don't believe in or what I think is right or what I think is wrong in that sense, in those two areas. I think that's kind of a private thing, and I think that should stay a private thing. That's something that's a personal thing, that you kind of keep within yourself. And to especially when you're talking with friends and trying to force your opinion on them, or trying to force your point of view on them, or getting upset if they disagree with your point of view, or getting upset if they don't agree with everything you say or like everything you say. I think that borders on absurdity. It really does. It's first of all, it's not civil, but it also borders on absurdity because uh, everyone isn't going to agree on everything. That's just a fact of life. People have their own minds. Everyone has their own mind. They have their own thoughts. They have their own positions, their own beliefs, their own values. They have their own opinions on things. And a lot of what's out there right now isn't really based on fact anyway. It's based on opinion. And I don't care, you know, I don't care where you're from, or what political position you have, or whatever it is. It's all conjecture. It's all opinion. It's all, it's not a lot of it. Yeah, there are facts and everything, and there's a lot of misinformation and everything. So it doesn't. It's nobody is 100% right. I can't say I can't say that anybody's 100% wrong. It's just the thing is that people aren't respecting each other's opinions anymore. They're too busy enforcing their own views on someone else, or they're getting upset or their feathers ruffled if someone disagrees with their point of view. And that's not civil. That's not the way to that's not the way to engage in discourse. It's not the way to engage in a conversation or in a discussion. You can agree to disagree. That's an old cliche, but you can. I mean, I know people who come from completely different backgrounds in every way possible that are best of friends because they don't let that get in the way of their friendship, or or what they see in the other person. And I think that's a lot of what it is. It's like finding the good in the other person, finding the value in the other person, rather than looking for what you disagree with, or what faults you perceive that they have. It's the whole thing is just ridiculous. That you get on Facebook and you see people fighting over stuff and breaking apart and breaking up over things that really at the end of the day are not all that important in the big scheme of things. In the big scheme of things, in life in general, there's so much trouble in the world now as it is. There's so much going on that instead of working together, instead of fighting with each other, we should be working together on how to resolve things. And it's not going to happen if everybody's so busy trying to enforce their own values and their own opinions on someone else rather than listening to someone else. If everyone spent more time listening, I mean, we all have two ears, right? Which means to basically, and one mouth, which means to listen twice as much as you speak. Listen more than you speak. And if everyone spent twice as much time listening as they do to people, as they do talking at them, and maybe use this mouth instead of talking at them to talk to them, then maybe this world would be a lot better off. I think we'd all be a lot better off, be a lot better place. And I'm not saying this to rant. I'm just giving you my thoughts on this, my observations, what I've seen, not just on Facebook, but Twitter and everywhere else. I haven't seen this much discord before in my life. I know it exists in various areas and in various places, but never before have I seen the level of toxicity in a discourse that I've seen in the last couple of years between people, and it disturbs me. It bothers me. It saddens me. It greatly saddens me. So And I know I am kind of going on a rant about it. Maybe some of it's the wine talking. But you know what? If we can have a venue where we can do something that brings people together, like for instance this wine. This is a wine that, look, we can agree on politics, we can agree on religion, we can disagree on what color the sky is, But I can tell you what, one thing we can, if you like wine and I like wine, I think this is a wine we can both agree is a good wine to drink, and we can sit down and have a bottle of this wine and enjoy it, and there's something we can agree on. I'm using this as an example, but that's what I'm saying. It's find some things that bring people together. Find some commonality. Find some commonality in the good in each other, and I think we'll see less of this vitriol that we see these days online so much, online and in public. But I really think that this is a good wine, and I think you would enjoy it too. If you don't enjoy it, it's okay. We can agree to disagree on that. But something tells me that if you like wine, and if you like reds, and if you like Rosso, if you like Sangiovese wines and red blends, I think you'd like this. Just my opinion. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. And I wasn't really borrowed from Monk, by the way. It was. I've said that a lot myself in the past. Speaking of which, Monk TV shows and things like that. And, I have seen them. My family and I have watched the whole series of Monk. It's a pretty funny show, and Psych as well. It was kind of like a sister show to that when it was out. What we're doing now, we're watching Eureka. And I'm a sci-fi fan. I like a lot of good sci-fi, and sometimes I'll even watch bad sci-fi too. But Eureka is a show that I'd seen when it was out in the beginning, and now I've introduced it to my family, so we're all sitting down and watching all the episodes and checking that out. We had seen Warehouse 13 before that, and which was kind of a sister show to that, kind of in the same universe. And we all enjoyed that quite a bit. We had seen Monk. We'd seen Psych. If you're a Psych fan, if you remember that show, that's a classic, I think, now. But I will say there is one show. Oh, Stranger Things is coming out. I think the third season is coming out July 4th on Independence Day. So my wife and I are looking forward to catching up with the third season of Stranger Things because we both like that show. I will say, if I'm going to go on a rant, I think I'm going to go on a rant now about some sci-fi things, and particularly the Sci-Fi Channel. The Sci-Fi Network, we cut the cord 12 years ago when we moved to Charlotte from Orlando. But I was still trying to keep up with a lot of the shows on Sci-Fi on places like Hulu, Netflix, and venues like that. I was really, really disappointed to see Sci-Fi make some of the really bad decisions that they made over the years. And recently, there was one show that we were keeping up with that Chi and I were watching that we really got into. That was Dark Matter. And when they canceled that after the third season on a cliffhanger, I was like, what? We invested in that show. We had ourselves invested in watching that, and then they just cut it off. And that was the point where I said, now at first there were various reasons that pitched around as to why it was actually canceled. But then recently, I came across, was it a Reddit, I think, where the creator explained what actually happened, why the real reason why it was canceled, and it was basically politics up at uh, and some personalities up in the Sci-Fi Channel's executive areas, and um, once I found that out, I was really fed up with sci-fi, with the channel, and I said to myself, you know what, if that channel, first of all, they changed the name from Sci-Fi's and SCI-FI, science fiction, to Sci-Fi, SYFI, which the logic, they explain the logic of it, but it didn't make any sense anyway to me. But I think after that, I just kind of gave up on that channel, that network, and I said, you know what, I'm pretty fed up with that. I'm not going to invest myself in any more shows from that network anymore. And here I am talking about TV, which is actually kind of a trivial thing, but I watched too much TV in my day. I watched too much TV when I was a kid, so I probably have more useless trivia of TV in my head than of anything really useful in my life. Although I will say that one thing that I do remember, and I was telling my family about it the other night, that I remember when my dad got our first color TV. We got our first color TV when I was a kid. I was about 9 or 10 years old. And one of the first things that we did when we got that color TV was we watched the Apollo 11 moon landing. And I remember that vividly because I remember sitting in front of that color TV watching the live pictures and the video coming from the moon, Apollo 11. And my dad set up an 8mm movie camera with two or three rolls of film there so he could capture this. He wanted to capture them because we knew even then that this was an historical moment for the ages. And I mean, how many times, how often does somebody go to the moon? Well, he set up that camera, and I was right there with him, and he shot film off the TV, off that tube TV, to record the the pictures coming in from the moon landing. It was in the first walk on the moon when Armstrong and Aldrin set foot on the moon, and it was pretty exciting. I mean, I remember I was 10 years old at the time, I believe, and it was just such an exciting, exhilarating time. And I tell you what, that was a time that brought the country together. That is a moment of time that pretty much brought the entire world together. Everybody around the world, people around the world were watching this thing. And, I know. I've heard the people saying, oh, the moon landing's fake and all this kind of stuff. Now, I don't believe that. I believe the moon landings were real. That's just for the record. And you can believe whatever you want. Believe whatever you want. But I tell you what that did do. It did, whether it was real or not, it did something, I think, very, very important for a brief moment in time. And it's the same event that happened, that's happened a few times in our history as a country. Sad to say, another one of those events was 9/11. It was a tragic event, and I remember vividly where I was and what I was doing when the Twin Towers fell. I remember that vividly. And the thing is, though, that something that those two events had in common was something that I was talking about a little bit earlier. And that is, for a brief moment in time, however brief it was, for a brief moment in time, our country was united. Our country was brought together. Everybody forgot about all their other differences, whether they're political, religious, whatever, all their differences. And for a brief moment in time, we were all one people. We were all, it didn't matter who you were, where you were from, what color your skin is, whether you were male or female, or what nationality were you, whatever. It didn't matter your ethnicity. It didn't matter. It brought people together. For a brief period of time, we were all one people. We were all united. And that, in that sense, it was a rare moment, but it's something that kind of brought a sense of unity and dignity to us all. And once again, I'm not trivializing the events of 9/11 at all. Don't get me wrong. Okay? It was horrible what happened. And that's not the kind of event that you really want to be bringing people together. You don't want to have to do it in a disaster like that. But nonetheless, it was an event that for a brief moment in time, no matter what your political leanings were or whatever, everybody was one. And I don't want anything like that to happen again. I don't want another 9/11. I don't want any other disasters or anything like that. But what I would like to see is I'd just like to see people just brought together as one again. Maybe something as exciting as a moon landing. Something like that. Something that's a good thing. Something that's a great achievement. That's something that can bring people together. And if we had more of those... If we had more of those, maybe that would be a good thing. That would be a good thing. If we could just kind of unite over something like that. But unless people start changing their minds and their hearts and their attitudes towards each other and towards life in general. I'm concerned that we won't see too much of that in the future. Too much of the unity that I was talking about of a moon landing. But that was one event. The moon landing was one event that I think will forever stand in my mind as a moment where, for a little time at least, everyone was together. So, anyway, I'm going on again, and I'm going to finish this wine. I'm not going to finish this bottle, because that would not be prudent. But I will finish this glass. And having nearly done so, I will say this, there is a little sediment. It is fairly clear. The wine is, well, it's not too clear. There is some clarity to it. But there is some sediment in the glass. Not a whole lot, but some. That's not a bad thing. Sediment's not bad for you per se. It makes the wine look a little heavier, but probably a little heavier than it is, but it's still a good wine nonetheless, and I think it's well worth trying out. I am going to be putting out the next podcast, hopefully Monday, trying to make it a regular thing on Monday nights to get the podcast out. So if you, and it won't be this episode, it won't be this wine stream that I'm putting out, it'll be the second one that we did. I'm sort of behind a few weeks or so on. I want to make sure they all get out. So I'm there's kind of a delay of a few weeks between this wine stream and when the podcast for this wine stream would go out. And there's some editing involved, because what I do on that is I also edit it down for those, because this is also quite a visual experience. I'm holding up bottles, I'm pouring wine, I'm doing things, I'm showing you things online. There are a lot of elements to this visual that if you're just listening to the podcast, it's not going it's not going to be very it's not going to be something that's going to hold your attention. It certainly bore me to pieces. So I edit these somewhat to kind of edit them down, especially if you're visually impaired. The podcast is a good probably a good thing to go to if you enjoy doing the wine streams and stuff, but you're visually impaired. I think that's I'm trying to keep that into consideration. So I want to edit these things down so that it doesn't so it's somewhat coherent. Even if I'm not, at least if the podcast is somewhat coherent, then that's helpful. Anyway, I think it's about time to close the stream down. It's almost 1:30, and we did get started late, but it's I think we're going on to over an hour and a half here, so I guess I'll say good night. And I'll think of all kinds of other things I wanted to talk about in the stream after, and that happens too. As soon as I shut the stream down, as soon as I stop recording, I think of all these things I wanted to talk about that I never talked about. That's how my mind works. That's how my stream of consciousness works. And then I won't bother to write it down because I say, well, I'll mention it next week, and the next week I just forget it all. Anyway, I'm rambling on again. I hope everybody had a good time in spite of my ramblings. I had a great time. I had a really great time with this wine. Once again, this is called Frico. It's a Rosso by Scarpetta. It's a 2016 vintage. It's a Tuscan red wine from Italy, and I do recommend this wine. I would recommend that you probably aerate this. I have a pretty good feeling based on some things I read online that it kind of needs to be aerated, and I did aerate it first. I would kind of recommend, if you want the same experience I had with the wine, I would recommend aerating the wine first before drinking it, but I would recommend drinking it. And in any case, I hope everybody has a great week. I'll see you next week on this Saturday Night Wine Stream so we can all get together and drink with Rick. Good night, everybody.